You think Vicki Gunvalson just got lucky with that season 20 orange because Bravo finally felt sorry for her? You think this is just a heartwarming reunion for the 20th anniversary? Think again. What looks like a nostalgic homecoming on your Instagram feed is actually the result of a brutal 18-month negotiation siege that started with the public humiliation and ended with a payout that might just bankrupt the season 20 budget. Welcome to Drama Drip. The headline is simple. The OG of the OC is officially back for the landmark 20th season. But the reality? This was not a casting decision. This was a hostage situation. Today, we're going to tear apart the press release and answer 3 specific questions that the network hopes you don't ask. First, what really happened in the closed-door meetings after her awkward limited appearance at BravoCon 2024 that made her go completely silent for an entire year? Second, what exactly was in the so-called nuclear text she allegedly sent to Tamra Judge this past summer that terrified producers into opening their checkbooks? And finally, how did she allegedly use the Bethany Frankel strategy to secure a specific, never-before-seen clause in her contract that guarantees her money even if she barely films? Let's start with the timeline, because you're being fed a very specific, very clean version of this story. The common belief is that time heals all wounds, that absence makes a heart grow fonder, and that Vicki just missed the cameras. But if you look at the actual timeline of events, that narrative falls apart immediately. Per Reality T's coverage on January 21st, 2025, the narrative was dead. Vicki had publicly stated she was, quote, all out after being offered limited roles. She wasn't just paused, she was effectively erased from the board. At that moment, she was a relic. But watch what happens next. According to People magazine's coverage of BravoCon 2025 just days ago, the tone shifted entirely. When Andy Cohen handed her that orange on stage on November 14th, 2025, it wasn't a gift, it was a concession. Sources in the industry have long whispered that Vicki's team has been playing a high-stakes game of chicken with production for 18 months. The strategy was total withdrawal. Note the silence during season 19. While fans complained about the lackluster drama per Screen Rant's November 19, 2025 report, Vicki was ghosting the network. She denied the friend of contract in 2024, not because of ego, which is what everyone assumes, but because of leverage. She knew the 20th anniversary was coming. She knew the ratings were softening, and she waited. To understand why this return is so shocking, we have to look at the money. This brings us to our first major revelation, the financial precedent. According to reports from Variety on September 12, 2025, Bravo has been aggressively cutting talent costs across the board. We saw it with the reboot of New York, we saw it with the casting shakeups in Atlanta. The mandate was cheaper, younger, fresher. So how does the most expensive veteran in the franchise's history claw her way back onto the payroll in a budget-cutting era? She didn't play by the standard rules. Instead of asking for a per-episode fee, industry insiders suggest she negotiated what is known as a heritage package. Per Page 6 on October 4th, 2025, rumors began swirling that legacy cast members were banding together to demand royalties for their likeness usage in flashbacks. Vicki seemingly took this a step further. By holding out until the very last second, literally days before filming was scheduled to begin, she forced production into a corner. They needed a headline for season 20. They needed a savior for the ratings, and she knew it. The payout here isn't just about the paycheck she gets today. It is about establishing that you cannot celebrate a 20th anniversary without the person who started the clock. She forced them to value history over budget. This is directly pulled from the playbook of Bethany Frankel's Reality Reckoning. Go back to July 2023. Per Reality T, Vicki publicly aligned herself with Bethany, explicitly stating she was paid $0 for her first season and demanding residuals. Flash forward to November 2025, and it appears she finally found a way to get that back pay. But money is boring compared to the emotional warfare that actually got this deal signed. We need to talk about the nuclear text. This is the story that has been buried under the celebratory Instagram posts. You cannot understand this comeback without looking at the summer of chaos that preceded it. According to reports from 24.kg on November 17, 2025, just months before this contract was signed, Vicki sent a series of text messages to Tamra Judge that were described by sources as insane. Now, when we hear insane in the housewives world, we usually think of yelling or drunk dialing, but this was different. These were strategic bombs. The report suggests these messages contained serious, specific accusations about Tamra's personal life, specifically regarding her husband, Eddie Judge. Remember, per Reality Tea on August 6, 2025, Tamra had admitted to trying to get Vicki fired years ago. This summer, Vicki seemingly flipped the script. By putting this nuclear information into the ether via text, she created a situation where the only way to resolve the tension was on camera. This is a classic reality TV producer trap, and Vicki knows it better than anyone else. If the drama is this toxic off-screen, you have to pay to put it on-screen. The insane texts weren't a mental breakdown, they were an audition tape sent directly to the enemy. She effectively wrote the script for the first 3 episodes of season 20 from her living room and then told Bravo, if you want to see the ending of this movie, you have to pay for the ticket. It was a masterclass in manufacturing relevance. Consider the nature of these threats. In the world of unscripted television, conflict is the currency. If Vicki had simply sent a text saying, "I miss you, let's make up," she would have been ignored. A reconciliation story is boring. It doesn't sell ads. But a story about blackmail, a story about a friendship that has turned into a Cold War with insane allegations, that is a premiere episode. By escalating the conflict to the level that felt dangerous, she made herself essential. She guaranteed that Tamra Judge would have to talk about her on camera, whether Vicki was contracted or not. And once you are the topic of conversation, the contract inevitably follows. Let's pivot to the third angle, the ratings leverage and the new Coke effect. You might think Bravo holds all the cards, but let's look at the data. Per the Nielsen ratings released in early November 2025, the viewership retention for the franchise had dipped significantly during the previous season. The audience fatigue was real. Fans were tired of the manufactured fights between newer cast members who didn't have deep history. The reboot attempt of season 19 didn't land the way executives hoped. Vicki's team likely used this data as a weapon. According to a breakdown by The Hollywood Reporter on October 22, 2025, legacy franchises rely heavily on comfort viewing. People tune in for familiar faces in the same way they rewatch episodes of Friends. Vicki isn't just a cast member, she's a brand asset. By removing herself from the ecosystem entirely, she allowed the show to feel the pain of her absence. It's the new Coke strategy. You take away the classic formula, let everyone complain about the new taste, and then bring back the classic version to thunderous applause and higher sales. Look at the response to her cryptic Instagram post in late 2025. Per US Weekly on November 18, 2025, the engagement on her post hinting at a return was triple that of the current cast promotional posts. That is a metric you can take to the bank. She proved that her hate watchers are more loyal than the new cast fans. This is a crucial distinction in the modern media landscape. It doesn't matter if the audience likes you, it matters if they react to you. Vicki proved that even when she's doing nothing, she generates more noise than the women currently holding the oranges. Now, we have to address the Tres Amigas factor. This is where the personal becomes the professional. Per Pop Culture on November 18, 2025, the dynamic between Shannon Beador and Tamra Judge was described as tenuous at best. The group was fractured. Vicki isn't returning to a fun girls trip, she's returning to a war zone. But here's the genius part. She's entering as the nuclear determinant. Because she has been on the outside, she has collected information. She has watched the episodes. She has read the blogs. She knows exactly where the bodies are buried. According to rumors circulating on Twitter X in late November 2025, Vicki's contract explicitly allows her to break the fourth wall regarding her time away. This is crucial. It means she doesn't have to pretend she was just busy. She can reportedly address the firing, the pause, and the negotiation on camera. This meta commentary is exactly what modern audiences crave. We want to see the machinery of the show, and Vicki is the only one willing to show us the gears because she helped build the machine. This creates a massive problem for Tamra Judge. For years, Tamra has been the producer's favorite, the one who stirs the pot and moves the story along. But with Vicki returning with this level of ammunition, Tamra loses her monopoly on the narrative. Vicki's return effectively neutralizes Tamra's power. If Tamra tries to spin a story, Vicki can simply reference the insane texts or the off-camera negotiations. It forces a level of honesty that the show has been lacking. We also need to consider the broader context of the golden era. There's one final twist to this story that no one is looking at. It's the timing of the announcement. It happened right as the casting calls for the new Golden-style spin-offs were being finalized. By locking in her spot on the main franchise now, she secures her relevance for the next phase of the Bravo universe. She isn't just playing for season 20, she is playing for the next decade. Think about the trajectory of reality stars. Most of them fade away after 5 or 6 seasons. They launch a failed podcast, maybe a wine line, and then disappear. Vicki has managed to stay in the conversation for 2 decades. This new contract is likely her bridge to the future. If Bravo eventually launches a Real Housewives Legacy permanent series or a Golden Girl style show, Vicki has now positioned herself as the anchor tenant. She didn't just negotiate a season, she negotiated her tenure. Furthermore, let's look at the fan sentiment regarding the OGs. There's been a massive cultural shift in the last 2 years. Fans are rejecting the overly polished, influencer-style housewives who treat the show as a runway for their fast fashion brands. There's a hunger for the raw and unfiltered energy of the early seasons. Vicki, for all her faults, represents that unpolished chaos. Her return signals that Bravo was listening to the audience's demand for authenticity, even if that authenticity comes in the form of a woman screaming about a family van. So, what is the payout for you? Why does this specific contract negotiation matter to anyone outside of the zip code 92679? Because it proves that in the reality TV economy, no is the most powerful word. Vicki Gunvalson disappeared for a year, refused the lowball offers, threatened the reality union talking points, and allegedly weaponized her personal text to force a storyline that production couldn't ignore. She didn't get asked back. She forced her way in. And if that Instagram post from November 18th, 2025 is any indication, where she warned fans to touch my orange again and prepare for consequences, she's not planning on playing nice. She's planning on collecting back pay. She turned a firing into a sabbatical and a demotion into a promotion. She looked at a system designed to chew people up and spit them out, and she jammed the gears until they paid her to start the machine again. In conclusion, Vicki Gunvalson's return is a masterclass in leverage. She used the network's desperation, her enemy's secrets, and the audience's nostalgia to construct a deal that seemed impossible 12 months ago. She proved that you are only irrelevant if you accept the label, if you fight back, if you hold the line, and if you have the receipts, you can always find a way back to the center holding the orange. This isn't just about one woman in Orange County. It's about the business of fame. It's about knowing your worth when everyone else is telling you that you are depreciating. It's about playing the long game when everyone else is chasing short-term clicks. Vicki Gunvalson just wrote the textbook on how to survive in the Shark Tank, and she did it by becoming the biggest shark in the water. If you want to understand the full playbook of how reality stars manipulate production to get these massive paydays, you need to see the pattern across the network. We have compiled a deep dive into the biggest contract disputes in Bravo history, from Nene Leakes to Bethany Franklin. And you can find that right here in the Fresh Celebrity Tea playlist. It's essential viewing if you want to know who is actually winning the game and who is just getting played.